Welcome, welcome. As you may see on the uh, downer left, you can see my name has been changed. Alright? My name has been changed. So anyways, we're gonna talk about something. I want to talk to you. My history. Of course. My history. There we go. I'm just gonna Mm-hmm. Mmm. Hot. Ah. Ah. Huh. Ah. Alright. As I was saying, I was gonna show you something. Alright? So, hmm. Sorry about that. You might wanna keep my head down for this. Alright. This is my showdown. Mm-hmm. And I took drum lessons. My parents divorced. See? Mm-hmm. That's why I had to call her multiple names. I had to call her multiple names. Oh shoot, sorry. Oh. Mm-hmm. Because my parents divorced. The song? I'm a huge failure. Excuse me. I'm just gonna find something. There we go. Found someone. Cool. Oh, I'm 16. There we go. Those are all the insults I had to use for my father. Oh, this one's age 25 years old. You might wanna. Begin, Dirt Man. Begin, Dirt Man. Me. Look, I called someone I don't like. Here's what I called someone I don't even like. Okay, that was extremely funny. Now on to the next life, which is I didn't get the the musical job back then because I never got a call back. Possibly because of my aggressiveness at school. So, here's another one. And he was born today. Alright? He was born today. His mother's Betsy. Father's LeBron McCormick. Rather than LeBron James, it's LeBron McCormick. This is where I became aggressive. I became excessively aggressive, alright? Releasing my cat Duplex. Lecturing my mom. Been diagnosed with depression. Called the principal something like that. I received a warning from the principal. Last time, I also received a warning as well for calling him a prick. And I berated him. I berated my father. Which that means scold or criticize someone angrily. Go look up the definition. I dare you. Okay. He married Slipknot, a 35-year-old psychiatrist. She changed her name to Betsy Slipknot. A woman in New Zealand died after plummeting off a 200-foot high cliff where she had been practicing yoga. It was reported that she was in the downward dog position when the incident occurred. I decided to address my new stepfather as Dad. You should have addressed him as Slipknot, don't you? Because it's a metal band, a death metal band, alright? This band is death metal in the early ages of the band. With like Cannibal Corpse and Mudvayne. Even Extermination Dismemberment. Alright. My father retired. I'd be blessed playing soccer with the league and my pals. My mother agreed to take me to voice lessons. Which that sucks. My father's no longer suffering from hemorrhoids. Man, I can't believe he had an awful life. I can't believe that dude had an awful life. Yes. He is Devin McCormick. Devin McCormick. Is cured of depression. Also, one more thing. A homeless man in La Masona is being honored after he prevented, oh my goodness, a mass shooting from happening, saving hundreds of innocent bystanders. Good depression. I am suffering from the chicken pox. I made a doctor's appointment. Dr. Oakley established me that I'm suffering from chicken pox. Treated my chicken pox. Chicken pox. Just wait until he's 10 or 12. That's when the crazy stuff happens. Alright? That's where the crazy stuff happens to him. He actually goes psychotic the more he grows up. Alright? I flipped my desk while my teacher, Mrs. Williams, stepped out of the room. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a... Ah! I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she is mentally defective. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's... Ah! I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that I called my teacher, Mrs. Williams, I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a bozo. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a cumberworld. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's an ingrate. I told my teacher, oh my god, oh my goodness, Mrs. Williams, that she's a Nimrod. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a blockhead. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a whack-ass sucker. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's skeezy. Okay, that's it. I called my teacher, Mrs. Williams, skeezy. I called my teacher, Mrs. Williams, a blockhead. Blockhead, that she's a sausage shark. I called my teacher, Mrs. Williams, smelly. I told my teacher. Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Wait. I told my teacher that she's. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a goblin. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she is a dunce. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she is a tramp. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's skeezy. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that... I called my teacher, Mrs. Williams, I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a... mistake. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a... I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a... I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a... I told my teacher... that she's a I told my teacher that she's a I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a psychopath. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a bird brain. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she's a tart. I told my teacher that she's a freak. I told my teacher, Mrs. Williams, that she is a crow-toed. Alright, I'm censoring it. No, I'm actually censoring the bad words in that the character had made. And that was a variety of insults. That was actually a variety of insults, you know that. I gotta come in. Alright, I'm back. Anyways. I revived from the future after a disgraced nuclear physicist gave me a ride on his DeLorean and exceeded 88 miles per hour. And actually, that reminds me of a Travis Scott song, which is Sicko Mode. Which is actually Sicko Mode. I took voice lessons. I revived in the future after my house was lifted up into a raging cyclone and dropped into another dimension. Here comes the craziest one. Here comes the crazy one. And trust me, he is psychotic in this one. He is actually a maniac. Don't ask him. He's actually a maniac. He went maniacal. Alright? And now he is a monster. A maniacal... He's a maniacal... goon. He's a maniacal goon. Right now. Yes, he is. He's a psychotic goon by 10 years of age. But anyways, I'll show you guys. I went sailing with my mother. But that's kind of nice. That's kind of nice to go sailing with your mom. It kind of reminds me of Pikachu. It reminds me of Pikachu. And back in 2021 and 2022, when I played Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu back then, I have a surfboard, and we went sailing on the surfboard with Pikachu. Yeah. Good times, by the way. Good times, by the way. I told. Oh, shoot. I told my teacher, Mrs. Marinine, that she is a freak. She warned me not to say that again. I told my teacher, Mrs. Marinine, I called my teacher, Mrs. Marinine, a chicken head. I was sent to the principal's office for calling a teacher a chicken head. I called the principal, Mrs. Barr, a douche lord. The principal, Mrs. Barr, scolded me. I was expelled from St. Germain's Elementary School for disciplinary issues. And by the way, what is that at elementary school? Oh, it's a private elementary school. So the parents might be rich. They're like, decillionaires. Mm-hmm. They're decillionaires. But anyways, back to where we were. Expelled from St. Germain's Elementary School, that private school, for disciplinary issues. My mother argued with me because I was expelled from school. I screamed at her. I've been enrolled at St. Lindsay's Elementary School, an all-boys schools, or Lindsay's Elementary School, an all-boys school. I took voice lessons. And here comes the not so important age. By the way, his mother and Slipknot, they both had. Why? Because they felt. Oh, I should have said that word. Damn. Actually, they felt because Slipknot really loves Devin's mother. Yeah, he loves Slipknot's mother. After all. But anyways. And here comes the FX moment that you have been waiting for. The moment you have been waiting for. And this will be deranged and wild. Get ready for what's about to come, which is starting right now. Ma, Steffa had a very boy named Marquis Slipknot. Oh, god damn it. Okay, the live stream's still okay. Oh, it's okay. The live stream's still okay. Alright? Live stream's still okay. Alright, it's still alive. Alright. But anyways, back to where we were. It's still alive, alright? Still alive. Alright. I called my mother a goblin. I called my mother weak sauce. I called my mother a dork. I called my mother a chickenhead. A dingleberry. An imbecile. A dimwit. Biznitch. I called my mother psycho. I called my mother a mouth breather. A snollygoster. An idiot. A freak. A pig. A fatty. A jump off. A vulture. A whale. Psycho. Snake. Dunce. Fool. Psycho. Whoa. Whoa. What have I done? What have I actually done? Bad. I should have censored that. But let's retry it. I call my mother I call my mother psycho. And then the tart. The psychopath. A snake. Let's just scroll down to the best one. I called my mother a crow toad. Now for the stepfather. Well, Slipknot, also known as Slipknot. He is very aggressive. Called my stepfather a jerk. He called me a dirty little biznitch, which that is a weak insult. Because I already heard that insult like I heard that insult like possibly septillion times? Yeah, I heard that insult like septillion times. And it's really annoying. Even people use that insult in the Netherlands. Even people use that insult back in the Netherlands. When Dutch people were around. Yeah, when Dutch people were around. And sometimes they use it in Germany. Or Austria. Or even Italy. Or France. Or Monaco. Or Switzerland. Or Poland. Or the Czech Republic, or Slovakia, or all of Europe, including the Netherlands. And sometimes Suriname, if I pronounce that, Suriname, alright? Which is a country in South America that speaks Dutch. But anyways, back to where we were. A dipstick, a cocoa. Lame brain. That's where I called Slipknot those naughty words. That's where I call them my dirty words. My stepfather threatened me to leave me behind. Leave me behind. At a museum. I kicked my stepfather's groin. I used my spiked brass knuckles to execute a flawless victory in my fight against my stepfather. I called my mother a hag. Pleb. Dr. DiCaprio. Dr. DiCaprio, like Leonardo DiCaprio, argued with me. I was built from a Countryside middle school. I turned down. I had dark thoughts. Here comes the craziest one. I pushed my mother off a cliff while she was admiring a scenic view. I pushed my stepfather. I pushed Slipknot off a cliff while he was admiring a scenic view. My mother left an entire fortune to my half-brother. There we go. Doctor. It's a doctor. I was sent to the principal's office for calling a teacher out. I called the principal, Dr. Gleason. A whatever word that is. Possibly a German word. Or a Dutch word. Or a word from the Netherlands. Principal Mr. Gleason reprimanded me, which I've heard that insult, not insult, but type of argument, so much from BitLife. I need to stop using reprimand rather than, it would have been more funnier if they used verbal abuse. I was expelled from Canopy Primary Preparatory School for disciplinary issues. My eyesight has been worsening. I told my half-brother. I called my half-brother Marquise A. He lunged at me. He perforated my face. I kicked my half-brother Marquise's groin. I used my spiked brass knuckles to execute a flawless victory in my fight against my half-brother Marquise. I superglued all my art teacher's Mrs. Doom's cell phone into her desk for acting up in class. I called the principal, Mrs. Jordan, and reprimanded me, which I've been, like I said, I heard that type of thing way too much. They should have used verbal abuse rather than reprimand, alright? I don't know why they keep doing that. They possibly love a girl named MIA. I've been diagnosed with depression again. I had dark thoughts. I passed my driver's exams. I pushed my half brother Mark for clear. I couldn't be both. I acted up in my art teacher's Mrs. Samaha's class. That she sucks. A bird brain. I called my art teacher's Mrs. Samaha a psychopath. Mrs. Jenkins brainless. And he verbally abused me for calling him brainless. He hacked into a DILF's account. Ugh. My god. It's like a massacre. Ugh. But I streamed Pokemon for whose amount of time? Samantha Guy. Her name's Samantha Guy. With a student. I also changed the title of my live stream. Right here. Graduated. I didn't want. What? I didn't want to keep the baby, but she insisted on it. Named Misty McCormick. That's my girlfriend. I witnessed a firearms activist stealing a bike. I stopped the firearms activist. He attacked me with a pickaxe, but missed. I double roundhouse kicked his groin. He died from his injuries. For doing the deed, I hacked into my father's bank account. I call the BitLife devs money-grubbing suckers. The witch doctor appeared and force-fed me fish eyeballs. So fish eyeballs. I was cured of PTSD. Took fish eyeball. I died. That was amazing. wasn't it? And we also have another one from Canada, Antoine Cameron. Yeah. Yeah. And here comes my favorites. My mother and Michael D. into divorced. They got her name to that. Became friends. I told my teacher, Mrs. the Dolphin, that she's a something. And here comes the best one at age 11. My teacher, Mrs. Anderson, embarrassed me in front of class. Then I broke her. I did 11. Sent. And then screamed at her. He's a rapper, by the way. He killed multiple people. In fact, that was not only the end of him. That's not the end of him. What? That is Trevor Crystal. He has 300 murders. $300. What? 300 murders in one life. I swear, he is such a psychopath. How is he such a psychopath? And his funeral was attended by no one. So, I guess that's the end of the stream. I guess. So, put your hashtag Save Ozzy Osbourne on. Please. Okay? Thank you.